Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hi, everybody. It's Saturday, and we wanted to hop on and do a little sweet tea session because we've had a little bit of news and the 2020 special last night.
Yep.
So how are you, Fruit Loop?
I am good. Good.
You having a good weekend?
Yeah. It's been kind of quiet, so.
Our weather is so crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's like cold, hot.
I know. It's like throwing out Powerball numbers.
Yeah.
47,
yeah.
62. Rainy, dreary, and so I have just been hardcore eyeball deep in the Wagner case for days.
I was going to say like three days, I think.
Yeah, I think I have carpal tunnel and strained eyes, but I'm learning a lot, and I'm really excited about our new episode tomorrow night where we kind of keep going forward on the case, a lot of catch up, but we're not going to cover that one tonight. We are first going to talk about Miss Letecia Stauch.
Oh my goodness.
Oh boy.
Oh my world.
Grab the popcorn. This is going to be a show.
What the world is she thinking?
I don't know. I mean, a month ago, she's saying she's incompetent to stand trial, and now she wants to represent herself.
Yeah, like literally you have the video of her getting up, acting all crazy in that room, flipping the lights on and all, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's going to represent herself.
Yep. So the judge essentially just, there was a hearing yesterday on the 26th, and the judge told her that having an attorney would definitely be recommended, but Letecia said she has come to find that the word expert doesn't hold much value, and I'm the expert here. I think that I could do it on my own, sir. It's a constitutional right.
Yes, but it's dumb.
These things never end well. In fact, Jodi Arias was going to represent herself in the retrial of the penalty phase, I believe, but decided not to.
I mean, you don't know anything like how to present evidence, what to file with the court, how to file, like all that's, I mean, we've seen it in the Daybell Vallow case.
Right.
Like how you file things is important.
Yes.
So she said, what'd she say? She had 23 hours to learn or something a day or something.
I guess is what when you're in the pokey, you know, just start going to the law library. She can put her degrees to work, I guess.
Yeah. For me, it's weird. It's almost like it's a control thing where now she gets to interview people and she gets to talk to people.
Yeah, it's weird.
So, yeah.
Other than her having to interview Landon and Al, I'm all for it. It's going to be a show.
And the sister.
Lena.
Yeah.
Harley.
Lena.
Is it Lena and Harley?
Yeah.
So, oh boy. Well, I mean, this will definitely be something to watch. I'm really glad we started covering this case now.
Yeah. So, I mean, she'll have to follow protocol. So it's not like she can mistreat them or, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah, of course.
So, but it's still, it's going to be stressful. I feel bad for Lena because she's 8 years old. Like, or was 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's 8, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But according to Letecia, she says that she has an ace in the hole and there are 2 pieces of evidence that are going to completely prove she's innocent. So yeah, we'll see about that.
So why not just give them to your attorney and
right? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know at this point. We'll have to ask our buddy Scott Reich. Can she change her? At what point, is it no turning back?
Well, I know the judge. From what I saw, the judge kind of said, and I'm paraphrasing here, don't quote me, but it was like, don't come up in here at the end and try to set right before the trial and say, oh, you don't want to represent yourself anymore and use a delay tactic. I'm going to say, no, you knew what you were getting into.
Right.
So.
Well, the reason she says she wants to represent herself, she called her lawyers fine ladies, but she said that the jail was mistreating her and she wasn't able to see parts of the case that she believes she has a right to. So now she'll get all the discovery. And I feel okay saying this. I hope to goodness when she sees autopsy pictures of Gannon that they haunt her dreams for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Probably not. People like her tend to not have much of a conscience, but she's going to get everything. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be the Hot Mess Express.
Yeah. the comments on our social media on this was pretty good.
I laughed all day yesterday.
Yeah.
Between YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, everything. You guys were so funny.
Just crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time covering that trial when it comes up.
Yep.
So we're gonna move on to Lori and Chad.
Yeah, I just finished the 2020 thing and took notes.
Yeah,
you watched it last night.
I did. I don't have cable service, but I was able to watch it. So I had to run to a relative's house, but yeah, I thought it was well done. Nothing really new for any of us that follow this case.
Yeah.
But I thought it was well done as far as, just visually. And then we got to see Melanie Pulowski and Lori's mom and sister, and Annie was on, and Kay and Larry. So it was nice. I think but I saw today, Annie said that she filmed this like a year ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's what she said. So I don't think this was recent.
Gotcha.
Maybe her part wasn't. I don't know. They could have filmed something with Kay and Larry, after they were clear from doing their discovery thing, which was, I would like to rewatch that.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. Kay and Larry, they're the sweetest. I mean, I don't know them, but they seem like the sweetest.
Yep. So I took notes while I was watching, and we're just kind of go through those.
Oh, wait. First, are we going to talk about Dr. Oz?
Oh, you want to do Dr. Oz first?
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll finish with 2020, just because this is kind of quick.
Okay.
I'll forget.
Dr. Oz is quick because we did not watch. We only watched the first 4 minutes, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like,
So what did Nate say about reasons that charges may not have dropped?
So he threw out there, and it was pretty good because nobody had hit on that at all.
Mm-mm.
He says, that a lot's going on behind the scenes that we can't see, that COVID-19 is prohibiting any juries or grand juries from meeting in Idaho. And it's like that everywhere. Mm-hmm. So the state, it seems like what he's saying, the state wants to take this before the grand jury so Lori and Chad can be indicted, but they can't meet, so they're waiting on COVID to clear so the courts open back up, and then they'll move forward with the charges. And what do you think about the grand jury stuff?
Well, we looked it up because to be honest with you, I'm not super familiar with why would a prosecutor choose to go before a grand jury as opposed to a judge. And they grand juries act as the community's reality check on the prosecution. And so the grand jurors look at the evidence not as government agents like prosecutors or anybody associated with the case, but they're kind of just members of the community ultimately that should make up the jury. So what they do is they only hear the defense or the prosecution side. Isn't that right?
Yep. Yeah, they hear the prosecution and they hear witnesses,
mm-hmm.
and that's it.
And the defense is not there.
Yeah, that's what we read said they weren't.
Right.
Because they're not allowed to cross-examine. Like what we saw before with, I don't know what's his name, with Pryor doing all his cross-examining that drove us all crazy.
Gosh.
With the officers and all that, and the other.
He was so disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mean, I try not to say bad things about, because I understand it.
Yeah.
It's in us to not like who's defending the bad guys, but we're all entitled to a defense when we're charged with something. But I just cannot handle his condescending, rude demeanor.
Yeah.
And from the judge down to every witness. I mean, you could tell red faces.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. So we won't have to, if he does go the grand jury route, we won't have to hear that at that point in time. And
we won't hear anything because all of this is done in private.
Yeah. That's the bad thing.
Right. And one thing about the grand jury is they almost always return an indictment.
Yeah.
So it's just good for a lot of reasons, I guess. And I would assume if they go before a judge for like a probable cause hearing, then we would hear maybe a lot of the evidence and who knows why. But I think that ultimately Rob Wood just wants to say, hey, a grand jury from this area said there's enough charges, because one of the biggest arguments right now is media coverage on the case.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder too if this is a way to say, hey, look, I mean, everybody around here knows this case, but a grand jury said, they looked at the evidence and said there's enough. I don't know, but
I think that's a great point.
it really is a good point.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of what, the other thing that Nate said is that as of the day he filmed that, Lori and Chad were still thick as thieves.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
My theory was that at least Chad had flipped.
Yeah, but they still believe they're this, and we're going to hear a statement somewhere in my notes. They're this hierarchy of they're at the top. Mm-hmm. And that's how they believe and what they think. So,
but hearing Nate say that changed my opinion on a few things, really. Obviously that my first opinion was that Chad had flipped, but also when you hear him say that they still think she thinks she's part of the 144,000, on the last episode, I said I thought Chad was the ringleader, and after hearing that, I don't know. I'm starting to think maybe this was like 50-50.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing Nate said was they were talking about in Hawaii when the police were serving the warrants and searching their cars and all that stuff, and when he when he spoke to them and trying to get them to talk, that Chad did look scared. He looked scared to death, mm-hmm. and that Lori was the one who was in control, and she would take his hand and go like walking up, going towards a hotel.
Yeah, and was it Nate? I can't remember if this was on the 2020 thing last night or if it was Nate. Somebody said that I think it was Nate when he approached them, like Chad went white.
Yeah,
and he was shaking.
Yeah, I think that was Dr. Oz.
Oh, was it Dr. Oz? Yeah,
but I didn't see Nate on the 2020.
Oh, yeah. What I was saying was there was another guy who interviewed Chad at the gas station after Lori was arrested.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure which one of those said it, but
yeah,
that was kind of a big thing for me is I kind of pictured it the other way around. So now I'm just really starting to doubt my theory.
Yeah.
Who knows? So
we'll all, in the end, we'll all be wrong. So.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we know like 5% of this case. So I think a lot of our theories are just going to be blown out of the water anyway. That's usually how it goes in this, though. I was looking through early posts of the Wagner murders, on Facebook groups and things like that. And some of the theories, just none of them were, not many of them were right.
Yeah.
So, but that's how it goes when these things, when the wheels of justice kind of start coming to a halt, all you can do is speculate.
Exactly.
So let's talk about 2020. I thought it was well done.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like we don't know when, like you said, Annie said it was a year ago, so we don't really know when that was filmed, but
they could have done it in pieces too.
Yeah. So just some things I took note of was they did have the Wheel of Fortune thing on there.
Yeah, we have looked oh my gosh, we have spent so many hours trying to track this down.
Yeah. So they had brief clips, and Lori talks about her loving family and her husband Joe and living on 3 acres and all that stuff. So they say on there, and this is Lori's mom saying that Charles called her when Lori started all this stuff. And he called her and said, she's going crazy. And I thought that was important because it was showing he was reaching out, trying to help her.
Right.
I thought that was important. I also thought it was crazy. Like Lori and Alex both got married and didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Janice says she didn't know Chad and Lori were married until she saw it on TV.
That's crazy.
And I think Alex, she didn't know he was married. She didn't know he was married. She didn't know he had a name change. She didn't know he had moved back to Arizona. Like nothing.
But I think it's really representative of this whole situation in that we know that people that get involved in cults or whatever tend to keep things from their family because families tend to ground you. And so when you're talking about, I'm part of the 144,000, any normal family member is going to say, you need to get away from this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised she didn't know.
Yeah. But alienation is huge.
It's one of the first things they do because they don't want anybody reminding you of who you really are.
And speaking truth.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's really, I didn't know until last night that Charles had called Lori's mom. And it's just another reminder that he reached out to authorities, as far as mental health stuff, and then family, because we know that he emailed her brother, Adam.
Yep.
And so it was just another little tinge of sadness for Charles, and seeing that he really exhausted every possibility that he could think of, I think.
Yeah.
And it did him no good.
Yeah. And Janice said, no, I mean, this is what she's saying that Lori told her, what she saw. But she said that all the members of their Cox family love Charles.
Yeah.
Like him. She even said Charles and Alex were really good friends.
Yeah. She said he was the favorite of all her husbands too. I had to
Yeah.
chuckle when she said that.
Oh no. Out of all the husbands.
Yeah.
He was the favorite. I mean, she said, and Larry and Kay, Larry said, I loved Lori.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what he said.
Yeah.
That she was a great mom. And that's what her mom and Kay and Larry, they all said that.
Yeah. It's so easy in hindsight for us to say, but she really wasn't a good mom. But, and I've had a few people want to argue with me about that. And I'm saying, look, we don't know Lori. We know what the news tells us about Lori or what these shows tell us, but I tend to believe the people that knew her for years who say, never saw it coming. She was a great mom. Now, in hindsight, do we know now that she did some really super shady, mean stuff throughout her life? Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's kind of crazy when people say, oh, she wasn't a good mom. How can you say that? And I'm like, but I'm just saying what the family said.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, and they were, like you said, they were around her. So,
Kay and Larry would have never agreed for JJ to leave the state and go live with Lori and Charles if they weren't 110% sure that they could provide for him emotionally, financially, physically, in every way.
Yep.
So
I thought it was to April. Raymond is on there, and she said that Lori, she saw a change in Lori, changes in her personality, that she started talking more about this group, talking about Chad Daybell. She described Lori as a super fan.
Yeah.
And she said she just could see a difference, and she started to kind of remove herself. She saw what was going on.
Yeah.
And she kind of distanced herself some.
Mm-hmm. I really like April. Every interview, she just seems like, she was a good friend, but good for her, and seeing that, your friend's going off in left field and you don't want nothing to do with that.
Yeah. So one of the crazy things I thought, this was when they were talking about the day Charles was killed. She stopped at Burger King on the way to school that morning, and got JJ food.
Oh my goodness.
So it just kind of, I don't know.
I mean, if you've seen the video of her leaning against the car smiling, it's not surprising that she would do normal stuff. I mean, every time I see that video, I'm just like, so amazed that wasn't a red flag for investigators, or they're both very nonchalant.
Yeah. Janice says that Alex told her he had no other choice than to shoot Charles, that he was coming at him and wouldn't stop. He said he felt horrible. I don't see it. Like, we have video of him right after.
Yeah.
And even the detectives in the case said it was the weirdest car ride. It was the weirdest, just how everybody was acting was just not normal.
Yeah. I really get the sense that all of Lori's family is still in denial.
Yeah.
Because
totally.
nobody said this is horrible. What she's done is horrible. It's just, I felt like Lori's mom still felt like the shooting with Charles was justified.
Yeah.
And the same with Melanie Pulaski. She talked about Alex regarding the shooting of the attempted murder of Brandon. Oh, I asked him, and he's not he tells you like it is, and he said he didn't do it. And it's just, she left it there.
Yeah.
It's confusing to me because, Brandon that day kind of knew who it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just,
yeah.
You wonder what it's going to take. But if Lori still thinks she's part of the 144,000, we know Melanie hung out with them. Is it that she's still not completely broken from it.
Yeah. The officers talked about the lack of emotion from all three. The day Charles was shot, there was just a lack of emotion. And Larry made a great point. He said nobody knows what Tylee and JJ saw.
No, and we'll never know.
No, nobody knows.
I've often thought about Tylee's reaction, and she's a child. She's 16 when this happens, but I almost wonder if she felt like she couldn't show emotion.
Yeah.
You know, did she just feel like if she did, she would be the Lone Ranger, and maybe she just felt like she had to hide it?
Yeah. Yep. So they went on and said some stuff about they had the gentleman who set up the wedding for Alex and Zulema. So Zulema like set everything up, like paid for everything and made all the decisions, I guess, and set everything up. We know Alex took Zulema's last name, and I mean, they're saying he did that to hide.
Yeah, that
yeah.
Yep. And that was something that I never had really thought about.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Okay, the other thing I thought was very weird, and I didn't know this, but they said on there, they didn't take any photos.
Yeah.
They had no photos. I had a friend go to Vegas and got married, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. And there was like 10 million photos.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a package, I guess, you buy or whatever.
Right, like your prom pictures.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It would be so fun to get married by Elvis, though. I ain't even lying.
See?
Yep.
Yeah.
But I remember in the past, somebody that was there said it was more like a business transaction.
Yeah.
That it didn't seem like this love and affection. And
yeah,
there's a reason they all got married to somebody who was like-minded. Maybe we'll find out, but there's a reason they all got married.
Yeah. This hit me, and they had the audio of Melanie Gibb when she called and confronted Chad and Lori about them asking her to lie. And this term that Lori used never hit me until when I was listening to it tonight. I didn't really pay much attention to it. But she told Melanie Gibb asked her, was JJ okay? And she said JJ is safe and happy. Mm-hmm. I just feel like the word happy is weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think if I asked you how your kid was doing that you would, I mean, in that sense when everything's going on around.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't, that happy word is just weird to me. It might just be me, but
yeah,
I think it's weird.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because she knew what his condition was at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, she knew he was dead.
Yeah.
Anything to throw him off. I think that they were a little afraid of Melanie Gibb because she was close to them, and she was one of the last people to see JJ alive. So that whole phone conversation, you're being very accusatory is what she told Melanie Gibb. And it's like, she really wasn't. It's just a guilty conscience.
Yep.
She was just asking what was going on. And, to say she's being accusatory, she didn't say you've done something with those kids. I just caught that because it's a guilty conscience.
Yeah, exactly. Something else. Janice didn't know for 7 days that Alex had died.
Yeah.
Like, these people just don't communicate.
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird dynamic, and it's odd for us because our families are just so close.
Yeah.
But, I mean, not every family tells everybody everything, but you would think, like a wedding and a death that you would get, because Lori knew.
Yeah.
So why, I mean.
Well, Melanie Pulowski knew.
Yeah. So
Zulema called her.
Why did nobody feel the need to tell his mother?
Yeah.
It's very strange. I don't know.
It's odd. A couple of things they said on there was sometimes the police let guilty people stay free to lead them to something. I thought that was interesting. They talked about just monitoring somebody, and obviously they were trying to track Lori and Chad down, but sometimes fugitives, or not fugitives, but I guess people wanted, well, that is a fugitive.
That is a fugitive.
That is a fugitive. That they make mistakes and do things that help solve a case or whatever. So right,
you give somebody enough rope that's guilty, they'll hang themselves. It's just
Another point they made, and this was big, I thought, and it made my brain start turning. Watch out. Hamster wheel in there. Yeah. We did not own the rights.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for I'll be singing that
welcome.
for 3 solid days.
We did not own the rights to the hamster dance. So
I'm gonna throw something across this room and hit you upside the head.
So Alex's phone went back. They're talking about how, because you know what they're going to say is, how do you know that was Alex's phone on Chad's property, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know he was in Lori's apartment at blah, 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 blah. So they're talking about how you know it's him is it does go back to his apartment. And I think they could monitor who he texts before and after to see those conversations and know, okay, this is Alex communicating with Zulema or whoever. So we know he had his phone. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think when this goes to trial, that's the things I'm interested to see is like, does Alex text Chad and say, I'll be there in 20? I mean, and it correlates with the time that he was there and the day after the kids were killed. There's, I think, a lot of stuff like that because, I mean, they left a popcorn trail digitally, it seems.
Yeah. And think about it. Melanie Gibb and David are with Lori at the apartment that morning and Alex isn't there.
Right.
So if they verify that Lori was in the apartment and Alex is not there and his phone is at Chad's,
right.
Hello,
there's nobody else.
You don't need to be a rocket science to figure that out.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things Lori told people was about JJ being a zombie was he was sitting and watching TV and his vocabulary is growing. What?
Oh, yeah. I mean, she said he was sitting still, watching TV, and his vocabulary was growing, and that's why he was a zombie. But then if you remember, it was him climbing up on the cabinets.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah. And then it closed out with making observations that Chad really had no emotional connection to the kids.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about how could bodies be buried in your backyard. And he just didn't have an emotional connection with them. And just their thought of their superior to everybody else. Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I heard last night too, and this just is really eerie if you think about it, is when they raided the property and found the kids, they were sifting through the sand and they found a little piece of flesh that they were able to do the DNA to confirm it was Tylee.
Yep.
And you think after the kids were killed or she was burned, buried, he had these campfires with his kids out there and there's literally pieces of that child in that fire. It just, it's just one of those things that makes your skin crawl when you think about it. There's pictures of them outside around the fire pit on 4-wheelers with kids. And it's just, to me, it's just, it's the thing where you are reminded how grotesque and just how terrible this case is. We get lost in the details and we get lost in Lori and Chad. And then sometimes when I watch something like that, I stop and think, what really happened to those kids? And that's why we're here.
Yep.
And it's just, every now and then it just hits you again. And that was one of the moments last night where I thought, oh gosh, man, just poor baby.
Yeah. It's not okay. I mean, murder is never okay. And I read something the other day and it was really cool. A friend of mine posted on their blog. And I don't know the author, so I can't give you a immediate quote, but it talked about when your children are killed or die, it's part of your DNA is in that kid.
Oh yeah.
So it helps explain why part of you dies because you're putting your own self in the ground or whatever. And I was like, that is so true.
Yeah.
Like that's part of you.
Oh yeah.
That, it's part of your bones. It's part of your DNA. And that's why that's why we do what we do, trying to, and we've had a lot of people reach out and say, thank you for keeping these names out, in the public and keep saying their names, I know Victoria Rose, the other case we're covering, that's one of their hashtags is say her name.
Yeah.
Because you want justice for these kids because they don't deserve anything that they've been through, and nobody that's ever murdered deserves going down that path. So
I can't imagine it, but I mean, we're normal people. We're not killers, and so it's the most foreign thing to me to hurt a child, much less my own. But I think, I agree with you. I think it's important that we keep these things active, even when these cases are a little bit cold, or not cold, but we're not going to trial yet, and there's no news. We do, and with Victoria's law, and we appreciate everybody signing it. You guys have done a great job.
Yeah,
they're getting major signatures, and that's just one little thing we can do is spend 10 seconds filling out our name and hitting send, and those are the kind of laws that make a difference in kids' lives.
Yeah,
and so I don't know if it seems like a lot of the cases, other than really what the Wagners, they all involve children, and we didn't really plan on it to just cover bad things that happen to kids, but I do think there's a draw to it because it's just the most unimaginable foreign thing to most of us to think about hurting a child. So when it does happen, you just want to do everything you can to keep those names on people's lips, because if we forget them, it happens again and again and again. And if we don't make changes, then we shouldn't be surprised when we get another news alert that a kid's been found dead.
Yeah, we've discussed this before, the Adam Walsh case back when we were kids. I remember that very vividly because there was like a show or a movie or something created on it. And I remember watching that with my family, and we've discussed this. I remember what a kind of impact it had on me.
Yeah.
As a kid, I'm like, I'm never walking away from my parents in a store. I think you said you didn't want to go to Sears.
No, I mean, but if you remember, as a kid, one of the scariest things for me was to be like in a store and lose my mom.
Yeah.
Because I just thought somebody was going to grab me and I would never be seen again. But that was sort of the era we grew up in, was the Adam Walsh era.
Yeah. So you look at what his dad has done.
Yeah.
To help with missing kids and stuff like that. So
it's unfortunate it takes something so brutal to start a movement, but this is a movement we've got to keep going.
Yeah. Kids are supposed to laugh, run around, play, be a kid, not an adult.
Exactly.
Kids are kids. They can't act like adults. So they're supposed to have their life ahead of them and just everything like that. And it gets taken and cut short, and it's tough. So we want to keep doing what we're doing.
Yes, we do. And we just have a lot more to come with the podcast. And these cases are going to progress, and I'm sure we'll pick up some new ones on the way. But for right now, our focus are on these cases. And we're glad you guys have come along for the ride, because I think, we're going to learn a lot of stuff. But I think, the more we do this, maybe the more people in charge see that we're tired of it. We're tired of kids falling through the cracks and then becoming a thing at 6 o'clock. And the bad thing is now it's almost every day you see it, and we've become desensitized to it. I think as a society, for people like us and trial followers that read autopsy reports, it's very real. Yeah. But it's so sad that it's just become an everyday thing that we don't stop and like have our mouths wide open anymore. It's just, okay, it's sad, but man, we got to fix ourselves, y'all.
Yeah, for real.
If you don't want stepkids, don't marry somebody with kids. Yeah. If you don't want kids, don't have kids.
Well, it's on the Victoria Rose page on Facebook. There's people will comment stories and horror stories of what they've been through with DSS and CPS. Mm-hmm. So that thing is going to be a big deal, Victoria's law. But they've asked for, if you have a similar story that they can use to take to legislator in the state of South Carolina, I would think, because that's where we are. They have asked to email justiceforvictoriarose@gmail.com. So if you have a story and you're in South Carolina, send them an email and give them, because they're trying to get as much information as they can to make a change.
Yep.
So
Well, I think that's all we had for that was like a tall glass of sweet tea session.
It was. That was a big one. It's only 34 minutes, but
No, that's good.
But still.
We're going to be back tomorrow night with a regular episode where we're going to pick back up on the Wagner family.
Dude, you've sat there for 3 days in that chair over there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a little bit more time. I feel bad because I hadn't like dug as much as you have.
Oh, it's okay.
But you do send me stuff, so.
Yeah, I do. I try to keep you in the loop, but I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you can sit here and we do this so much where we spend hours upon hours upon hours researching stuff. And before you know it, 2 or 3 hours has passed. Now I get up and take care of my kids and I have things to do and that kind of thing. But I mean, yeah, but when you do this, you can go down a rabbit hole and before you know it, like, a season has come and gone.
Yeah. It's like that commercial where you have cobwebs on you.
Yeah, right.
So.
Yeah. Eventually my skeleton will be here in position.
Did you eat today? Have you drank water?
I know, right? I know. I probably just need to go ahead and get like a tummy tube put in and just.
Yeah. We'll tell your kids, check on your mother.
Yeah. Go put a can down the tube. Keep her. But no, I mean, but that's just what we do. And, we try to bring everything that is fact-based to the podcast. And so, but that requires weeding through a lot of rumors. So,
yeah. Yeah. And that's tough sometimes.
Oh, it is. But then with the Rodin murder, you're looking at nearly 5 years of stuff to go back through the one of the sites that I'm on going through. I mean, there's over 60,000 posts about this case since it happened. And there's a lot of really valid information in there.
Yeah.
So, so that's what we've been doing. We're going to bring it to you tomorrow night and, hope you guys have a good rest of your Saturday.
Good night.